Okay, hello everyone. This video will explain how to sketch graphs of a quadratic function. So as you can see in your textbook 4.3, page 58. Okay, page 59, there's an example. Example 11, we have two items. A, f of x equals to x squared plus 7x plus 5. So here we are going to learn how to graph or sketch a quadratic function. So as you can see in this example, we have to follow steps. Okay. So in your textbook, step 1 says we are going to determine the value of our a. Because if our equation is in our function is in the form of f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, of course, our a value determines where is the opening of our parabola. So if a is more than 0, that means a is positive, the parabola opens upward, right? But if a is less than 0, that means a is negative, the parabola is opening downward. And of course, a cannot be 0 because if a is equal to 0, that is no longer a quadratic function. Okay, so as you can see, our a here is 2 and 2 is more than 0. So therefore, this parabola opens upward. Okay? That is for the step 1. So now we know that our parabola is opening upward. Next, step 2. We're going to determine how many real roots or how many times does our parabola touches the x-axis. Okay? For example, if our parabola is opening downward like this, it touches the x-axis at exactly 2 points, 1, 2. So this is 2 real roots, okay? If the parabola is just like that, so this is no roots, no real roots, okay? And if the parabola touches the x-axis at exactly 1 point, then that is 1 real root, okay? Okay, now, so the formula to determine the number of roots is b squared minus 4ac. Okay. So if b squared minus 4ac is more than 0, then it has 2 real roots. If b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, then it has exactly 1 real root. But if b squared minus 4ac is negative number or is less than 0, then it has no real roots. Okay, let's go back to our equation, our function. F of x is equal to 2x squared plus 7x plus 5. So our a is 2, our b is 7, and our c is 5, right? So applying b squared minus 4ac, okay, let's see. So our equation is, our b squared is 7 squared minus 4 times our a is 2, and our c is 5. So it will be 49 minus 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 5 is 40. So 49 minus 40 is 9, okay? And 9 is more than 0. So therefore, our b squared minus 4ac is more than 0. So we can say there are how many roots? 2 real roots. Okay, so this basically means that, for example, this is our Cartesian plane, and this is our graph. Okay, it opens upward and it has 2 real roots. Okay, Okay, now we are already in step 2. Now let's proceed to step 3. Step 3. Step 3. So in step 3, you're going to write the equation in the form of a times x minus h plus k. Okay. Different books have different suggestions. Some books would say f of x is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. Some books would say a times x plus p plus minus q, x plus p squared plus q. Okay, so and some other books would use plus c. It doesn't really matter. Actually, you are just supposed to find these values. Okay, this h is the first part of the vertex, and this k is the second part of the vertex. So here in this case, because it's x minus h, that means h is our x and our y is k. Okay, but here in the second equation, so since plus p, so your x should be minus p. Okay, change the sign of p, and then your q is the y. Okay, so let's go back to our equation. Our equation is f of x equals 2x squared plus 7x plus 5. Okay, so if you want to follow okay, let's continue. Okay, let's continue. So this equation, so we're going to make it in the form of like this or like this, up to you. But usually we use this one. Okay, but our book will let us use this one. It doesn't really matter as long as you know how to get the HK or the PQ. Okay, just don't get confused with the sign. So let's say, let's take out 2 first. So 2 times, that is by dividing 2 the whole polynomial, plus 7 over 2x plus 5 over 2. Now 2 is outside. Okay, so now we have 2 and regroup them. X squared plus 7 over 2x. Okay, and remember the third term is the square of the second term divided by 2, right? So that's going to be like 7 over 2 divided by 2 and then squared. Okay, or 7 over 2 times 1 over 2 squared, so 7 over 4 squared. So it will look like this, plus 7 over 4 squared minus 7 over 4 squared plus 5 over 2. Now this group is already a perfect square. This group is already a perfect square trinomial, which is x plus 7 over 4 squared, okay, minus 7 squared is 49, 4 squared is 16, plus 5 over 2. Okay, so now 2 times x, okay, remember this is still inside, plus 7 over 4 squared Then let's combine this. Minus 49 plus 5, that is going to be minus 44. Oh, no, not yet. This is 16 and this is 2. So we need to make them the same. 49 over 16 plus, we'll make it 16. 40 over 16. So this becomes 2 x plus 7 over 4 squared minus 9 over 16. Okay, now remember that we still have an enclosure. Okay, and how should it look like is like this. Okay, a x plus p squared plus q. It should be like that. And then we'll get negative p and q as our vertex or our minimum or maximum. So in this case, because it opens upward, we will get the minimum. Okay? Okay. Now, let's take this out, the brace. So multiplying 2 to both terms. Okay, so 2 times x plus 7 over 4 squared. Then 2 times 9 is 18 over 16. Then to simplify that further, it would look like 2 times x plus 7 over 4 squared minus, this can be cancelled out, right? By dividing by 2, 9 over 8. Okay, so remember, in getting the x value of the vertex or the minimum, we need to change the sign. From positive, it becomes negative. So if this, that means if it is negative, then it should be positive. Okay, so our minimum is negative 7 over 4, and our y value of the minimum is negative 9 over 8. Okay, so now let's proceed to step 4. Okay, step 4. So at step 4, you're going to determine the roots or the point where the graph touches the x-axis. Okay, so how do we do that? By equating the f of x is equal to 0, or that is saying that if y is equal to 0, what are the values of x? Okay, so 2x squared plus 7x plus 5 is equal to 0. So then factor, of course, factor. So you can use trial and error to factor, or you can, yeah, if you're sure, then just apply it. So in this case, 2x squared is 2x times x, and 5, let's say 5 times 1. Okay, and then to apply trial and error, 2 times 2x times 1 is, that is 2. Then 5 times x is 5x, and then we can get 7x by adding them. That means making both positive. Okay, so conclusion, we must make both of them positive. Okay, so therefore 2x plus 5 is equal to 0 and x plus 1 is equal to 0. So this means 2x is equal to negative 5. Divide both sides by 2. X is equal to negative 5 over 2, or negative 2.5. Okay, and the other value of x is equal to negative 1. Okay, so therefore we can say the x-intercept means the point where it touches the x-axis, or the real roots. It could also be called the real roots. Negative 5 over 2, 0, or 1/2 at negative 2.50, and negative 1, 0. So these are the x-intercept. Okay, and the last part, okay, if x is, the last part is to find the y-intercept. Okay, step 5, find the y-intercept. So in finding the y-intercept, you must assign x to 0 if x is equal to 0. Look at this number 4. Find the y-intercept, find the x-intercept. In finding the x-intercept, we assign y to 0 or we assign f of x to 0. In finding the y-intercept, we assign x to 0. So that means in our function, okay, we're going to change x into 0. So yeah, remembering the function, 2x squared plus 7x plus 5. Okay, and change x to 0. So that's going to be f of x is y, of course. We know that. 2 times 0 squared plus 7 times 0 plus 5. So 2 times 0 squared is 0. 7 times 0 is 0 plus 5. So y is equal to 5. Okay, therefore, the y-intercept is, or the point where the graph touches the y-axis is 0, 5. Okay, so these are the information that we need. Now let's proceed to graphing. If we are going to graph, okay, so the informations that we have so far is it opens upward. Yes, it has a minimum. The minimum is negative 7 over 4 and negative 9, 8. Okay, negative 7 over 4 and negative 9, 8. Negative 7 over 4 and negative 9, 8. What are the values in decimal? So this is the minimum. Okay, so if 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, negative 7 over 4, that is going to be 1 and 3/4. Negative 1 and 3/4. So that is somewhere here. And negative 9 over 8 is 1 point something. So here. So our vertex is here, okay, or the minimum. Negative 7 over 4 and negative 9 over 8. Okay, and it opens upward, okay? And next, what information do we have? The x-intercept or the roots. So the x-intercept, we have negative 5 over 10 and negative 1. And negative 5 over 2 and negative 1. Negative 1 is here, okay? And negative 2 and 1/2 is here, okay? So this is negative 1, 0, and this is negative 2.5, 0. Okay, so now we already have a vision that it looks like that because it opens upward. And the last information we have, let me just write it here. Negative 2.5 and 0 and negative 1, 0. The y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 0, 5, right? So that means 0, 5. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 0, 5, the y-intercept. That means our graph looks like this. Okay. Yeah. Understand? If you have any question, just send me a message.